I'm going to talk about the cognitive theory and how it applies. I find this to be a very interesting thing. It began when I started doing my undergraduate work, and many of my social science classes were psychology classes, and learned a lot about different things, and that personally helped me in a lot of ways: self-understanding, self-learning, um, and applying it to learning. And I wanted to get a little bit more information. Now, as I go on to my graduate work and I'm learning about curriculum development, and through my experience with as a clinical instructor in respiratory therapy, I find, and as also as a worker too, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But I wanted to get started with a little bit of history and also the definition. So let's talk about the definition. In Eric Thesaurus, um, it is considered a branch of psychology concerned with the nature and structure of complex knowledge processes, recognizing, conceiving, judging, and reasoning, and their effects on their or interactions with behavior. So we're also seeing it entwined with behaviorism. They kind of have to go hand in hand. I think that you do need to consider behaviorism theory when looking at skill, and we're looking at maybe test taking and how what are the outcomes. How do we measure? It's a very hard thing to measure what is happening cognitively until you can test it in behavior. So that's how they are linked together. Now the history, the cognitive load, the cognitivism has been cognitivism has been around maybe since the 1950s in psychology. It was introduced early, and heavily involved with that theory were John Sweller later on. He was born in 1946, but did a lot of contribution into the cognitive load theory. That is a very important theory, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But as far as it being involved with curriculum development, how do we put together learning? We do have to understand that technology has to be brought in based on how we perceive, how do we learn. So that is a big part of cognitive, why I'm interested in it. Um, as I mentioned before, I am intrigued because of my past with psychology courses in my undergraduate work. Also, because there's some using the principle. Listen to this article by Darby. Okay, 2013 focuses heavy on cognitive load as the reason for the lack of quality associated with conventional online discussion. So it doesn't only have to do with how we learn, but the other how we learn by what we're looking at in the way of technology, learning management systems, and how they're provided to us, but also in how we collaborate, and how we can improve our discussions even as professors or instructors doing online teaching. So here's what the article says. They found that compared to a conventional discussion strategy, discussion quality was significantly enhanced for participants using example posting strategy and limited number of posting strategies. Okay, cognitive load was significantly reduced for participants that followed filtered posting, filtered maybe an example following posting, and combination strategies. Okay, instructional efficiency of all proposed strategies was found to be significantly better than conventional discussion. So I think that in the way of collaboration, in the way of getting learning done through discussion online, or even improving my ability to teach online, it's an important theory, the cognitive load theory. Okay, now let's look a little bit about increasing the awareness for the research. In my study in the cognitive load theory, I found that it's most interesting is that research has provided only small amounts of findings applicable to instructional design. Neuroscientists examine cognitive functions at such a fine level of detail that their findings are frequently deemed unusable in educational research. So I kind of want to tap into that. I think, and I agree with Spector, that I think that what would happen an effective way to do uh, curriculum development effectively, learning in an online situation as an instructor, I think it would be very important to be involved in this research and to be able to produce what findings through curriculum into the learning spectrum. All right. So I agree with Spector. He says that one suggestion might be that the development of laboratories consisting of a multidisciplinary team of neuroscientists, psychologists, and educators, excuse me, to research from the earliest stages of conceptualization to the final stages. So, on the cognitivism, I think some of the positive things that I just discussed were that it is essential, it's totally essential in being as part of curriculum development. But some of the negative things are that there's a lot of research done on the cognitiveness, but we've tapped into very little applicable to curriculum development, to learning online, especially. Okay, that's where we really wanted to focus. So that's where the multidisciplinary team comes in. So that would be probably one of the negative things is that there just needs to be more research. There needs to be more people that are in tune with what's happening online in the online learning environment and being part of that research and producing something better, more up to date, some state of the art online teaching. Thank you very much for